Okay, so we're going to start recording in one, two, three. And good afternoon on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Thank you so much for checking me out here. I am joined here by Blue Jays public address announcer, Tim Langton. Now, Tim, I want to first of all take this opportunity to thank you so much for joining me here today. And I understand you just got back from vacation. How was that?
Uh, I was in the Caribbean, so yeah, it was. It's good. It's someplace we try to get to at least once a year, and it was warm. It was nice. Nice to be back home though. Ready to get back to things.
Oh yeah, a little cold down here though.
Yeah, well, it's Canada and it's winter.
Oh yes, so, yeah. So let's start by let's first. I want to sort of talk about um, what was it like getting to now. You've been the public address announcer for the Jays for a little while now. Um,
Since 2005.
that's what I thought. Actually, I remembered that actually, and so I want to sort of talk. What was it like to start off with? Like, what was it like getting to know some of these iconic broadcasters, like for example, and when one iconic one was here for quite some time. What was it like getting to know and working with Jerry Howarth and Ben Wagner? Let's start with Jerry Howarth, please.
Well, I mean, Jerry was there long before I started as PA announcer. I mean, I was working in audio prior to taking over as the PA guy. Um, and he's always a helpful guy. Jerry was always a helpful guy. Always had a joke. Um, our control room is just down the hall from the radio booths, so we'd get visits from Jerry quite often. He always had something to say. Like I say, he always had a joke, always a bad joke, but always had a joke, and was always helpful if I ever needed pronunciation assistance or anything like that. Always a helpful guy.
Yeah, I always had a very an appreciation for his delivery. and and even then, and he was also, because he was the play-by-play guy for so long, he also became a very good analyst too.
True. I mean, if you spend, I mean, I don't think I could do the job, but if you spend enough time around the game, you get to learn a few things. And yeah, I mean, he knew his thing. He knew his stuff.
And Ben Wagner.
Well, I met Ben, probably 5 years before he became the Blue Jays broadcaster. I had done some voiceover work for the Bisons, and got a chance to go down there in 2021 while the Blue Jays were still playing in Buffalo. Got a chance to spend some time with Ben. Ben is an absolute great guy. I'm glad after leaving here, I'm glad he landed on his feet with the Orioles because he's a great broadcaster and a really good guy.
Yeah, he is. And I'm gonna try and get him on. I'm gonna try and get him on here. I'm gonna try and get him on in the future.
I think you should. I think Ben would have some great stories to tell. Probably better stories than I have.
Oh, yeah. And then I think, like, see, um, I think it's interesting because, like, see, I think it's interesting, like, when you come across, like, when you meet these, like, or come across these legendary broadcasters, and not only legendary, but people you kind of figure out their craft a little bit as well, and they kind of have everybody sort of has. I think one thing about broadcasting has always been is storytelling.
Yes, absolutely. It certainly is because, especially when you're doing radio, because not only do you have to tell people what's going on, but you have to also describe the atmosphere and the situation, and I mean, you always got to remind people there's men on base or whatever the case may be, and yeah, there are like I have to say probably. I mean, next to the obvious, some of the obvious ones, some of the really legendary guys. Buck Martinez is absolutely phenomenal at telling stories and letting it and making it fit into what's going on in the game.
Yeah, Buck Martinez is good. Yeah, he's been, yeah, and I think all, like, like, even like when you have even those player analysts as well, are always kind of those are kind of always a good sort of fit as well.
Well, Buck being one of those. I mean, he's been a broadcaster for a long time, but he was a player for a long time too.
Yeah,
Uh, so yeah, I mean, he brings that brings a very unique perspective into it. Having played as long as he did and being a broadcaster as long as he has been, he's sort of brought the two worlds together and really made a unique sort of personality on the air.
exactly. Yeah. And no, I mean, what do you, I mean, do you think it's good? Like, I think this season for the Jays is going to certainly be an exciting season. What are your sort of thoughts? Are they? Yeah, I think they've with I think the three biggest signings so far have been Max Scherzer and Jeff Hoffman and Anthony Santander.
Absolutely. I have a certain philosophy about the game, the team, and the season, and it's. I mean, I always hope they do well in acquiring players and this
Yeah.
kind of thing. But my whole thing is let's go play 162 and see what happens and enjoy everything that happens, good or bad, and just have fun, watch the games, and try not to become too emotionally attached to it all, but enjoy it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and I think those pickups, I think were or those signings, I think are were I thought they were very interesting signings.
Uh, Anthony Santander, I mean, my view from my booth is down the right field line, and I've watched I've watched the balls leave the ballpark off his bat many times, and it's quite enjoyable. I got to think maybe the hot dog level there's going to see a few
Yeah.
Santander meatballs.
Oh, you never know. Um,
I'm looking forward to it though.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be a fun ride, and but that's how sports in general is supposed to be in my mind is a fun ride.
Absolutely. Um, I mean, there's no point in going out and watching a ball game and getting angry after it's all over. I kind of think it's just, I mean, you don't want to see your team lose, but you also want, I mean, I'll put it this way. Maybe you don't, maybe the team doesn't always play as well as you want to, but you've had a chance to watch Paul Skeens or Shohei Ohtani or anybody like that. That's always a treat to me
Yeah.
to be able to watch these guys who are going to be legends.
Oh yeah, and I mean the same can be said about like I think the same can be said about like the Leafs and Raptors too. But I
Sure.
think while it's been an while it's been an up and downs like year for both those teams. I mean Raptors probably in particular, but I think the ride has been fun when they've been healthy.
Yeah, when they've been healthy. I mean, I look at social media, before a game, and it's like such and such is not available, and such won't play, and it's unfortunate for them. But you know what? I mean, they're a scrappy team, and I think they'll just get better, just like anybody. I mean, you got to lose before you can win. That's probably one of the biggest things I've learned about sport is you
Yeah,
got to lose before you can win. And some of the
yeah,
losses hurt really bad, but it builds. I mean, it's something gets said about sport a lot of time, but it builds character.
oh yeah, yep. But I think yeah, and like so what is your experience also like you've been doing it since so this is like I think your 20th year as a public
Coming up,
address
yeah.
announcer. What has your experience been like overall? Like what like any like do you have any exciting stories
Oh,
on that?
I don't know, but exciting. I
Like how
mean,
about stories in general?
uh, yeah. I'm just trying to think where I might start. It's probably something more recent. I mentioned that when we were down in Buffalo in 2021 before they came back home,
Yeah.
the booth that I was in is in a different position in Buffalo, so I'm looking down the left field line, and to watch Vladdy hitting home runs that would just vanish into the darkness into the parking lot across the street, that was always a whole lot of fun. That's just one thing. It's just watching that happen. It was always a pleasure. And then you watch everybody who's outside the ballpark chasing down the balls. But watching those disappear into the night was kind of fun. Um, uh, I mean, I've seen Derek Jeter play. Um, I've seen Ichiro play. Um, and beyond baseball, we've had, well, we had Dan Castellaneta, who was the voice of Homer Simpson, come visit us in our booth. We've had wrestlers like the Big Show come visit us in our booth. Um, it's been a lot of fun that way. I think the playoffs in 15 and 16 are forever etched. I mean, when Jose and Edwin hit those home runs, the whole place was shaking. It was crazy. It's the loudest I've ever heard that ballpark. And I think we'll probably hear some of that this year. But that was amazing. And to go from that absolute excitement, then you got to turn around and continue doing what you're doing. And it's you got to settle down and just keep moving forward. So 15 and 16 were amazing. Watching Carlos Delgado play, watching Roy Halladay pitch is it's one of watching Halladay probably is as far as Blue Jay players go, watching Halladay pitch was just absolutely incredible. I mean Clemens too, but in a different way. But Halladay was just such a dominant guy, so intense, and it was almost like a guaranteed win game when Halladay pitched. Enjoyed that so much.
And Justin Smoke was around a while too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there were so many guys who made an impression that weren't necessarily superstars, but Smokey for sure was one of them. Probably, I mean, a really good first baseman. He would make some scoops that I don't think a lot of players would have been able to make. So it was fun watching him for sure.
And Kevin Pillar, remember Kevin Pillar?
Superman, yeah, yeah. The things
John
he did. I mean,
McDonald.
that uh, dude, you're pulling out all the favorites. I mean, Johnny Mac's home run on Father's Day, not a dry eye in the place after that happened. That was incredible. I mean, those are the moments I mean, there's so many of them that, you sometimes need somebody else to remind you about them.
Now you mentioned there, you mentioned the Bautista, and 20. You know what? I will never forget the bat flip. I will never forget Jerry Howard's call of that.
Uh, I only heard those after the fact. I did not see the bat flip. I was watching the ball leave the ballpark. I only saw the bat flip on the replays, but because I run the horn. So I got to figure out where the ball's going. I can't be watching the batter after what he's done. So I completely missed the bat flip live. I was more concerned of watching the ball and
Yeah,
seeing where it went.
but did you watch the highlights like on YouTube or
Uh,
something?
um, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I tend to come home after the ball game and then watch Jays in 30 or what have you,
Uh huh.
just to see what I might have missed. And I do miss stuff. I mean, you got to, I've got to focus my attention in different places when the action's going on. So I do miss things. So I want to go back and have a look.
You know, it's interesting, isn't it? Because like, see, and I think too, like, you have, that will be one of, I mean, in 2050, I think those were a very memorable year, very good years, at least, 2015, 2016. In my lifetime, of course, those were the, um, the highlight, those I think were the most, I mean, exciting years as a fan. But I think this year is going to be interesting too.
Ali, that's the way I go into every season. Is like this is going to be
Yeah.
fun. I mean, I always look forward to it. And like I say, if you lose the first three games in a row, we still got 159 games to go. So let's not even worry about it. I
Yeah.
just say let's watch. Let's play 162 and see where we are when it's all over.
Oh yeah. And yeah, certainly. And I think and I feel too when we look at um we look at where we look at these exciting moments and memorable moments. It's totally exciting. It's totally fun to just you know just as you say, enjoy the ride, and just enjoy the broadcast.
That's exactly it. Let's watch the game. I mean, you're going to see good plays. May not always be our guys that make the good plays, but you still get to see the good plays, and I mean, that's what the sport. I'm a baseball fan. I'm a Blue Jays fan too, but I'm a baseball fan. So I want to see good baseball, regardless of who's playing it.
Oh yeah, exactly. And certainly yes. And so I think it's interesting, like where I feel that it is very like, I mean, and some of the greats of today too, like somebody like Juan Soto, I think it's going to be interesting to see what he can do, although he'll be on the although he's with the competition, but I think it'll be interesting to see what he can do too this year.
I mean, we have great players on our team, but there's great players on other teams too, and that's to me part of the fun is getting to see some of these other great players. Like I say, having seen Ichiro play and and seeing Jeter. I'm just trying to think of there's been so many that you can't even keep track of the players that I've seen, and that's part of the fun of it all. It doesn't necessarily have to be our guys, but it's great to watch great athletes.
Yes. And yeah, no, definitely. And you mentioned currently that you do some back earlier that you do some voice work, some voiceover work,
I do.
and how do you find that? Do you
Uh,
enjoy that as well?
well, absolutely. I mean, I'm fortunate enough that I don't really work for a living. What I do, I love. So it's not really work. I mean, I've done, I guess recently, I've done some work for Canadian Tire. Just did some work recently for Bayer Agricultural Products. It's a lot of fun. Shout out to my agent Roger King uh, for finding me all this great work. It's a lot of fun. I mean, there's one thing that I do. I don't tell many people about it. It's sort of been a word of mouth deal, but
Uh-huh.
I do minor baseball introductions as well. If a team will approach me for $100 donation to Jay's Care, I'll do intros for minor baseball for kids. And I've been to a couple games where they use my voice, and it's so much fun to watch the kids coming to bat and having my voice introduce them as they're coming to bat. So that's something I really love doing.
Nice. Yeah. And and you kind of get to do that. And I mean, and you get to do that with the Jays as well. And I think it's yeah, and you know what? If when you can kind of get to that point where you enjoy what you do and you know, and I can say the same, and I say the same for me too. I enjoy what I do as well. You know what I mean? So, and I'm very excited about, you know, that, having
That's
opportunities.
that is that's something that's so important. Is I mean, and it's not easy always to do the things that you love to do as a way to earn a living. I was fortunate enough before I got into I started Skydome at the time. Before I started working there in the audio department, I spent 20 years doing radio, and
Yeah,
that is not hard work. That was absolutely something I loved doing.
yeah, yeah. You
Spend a
were
little
one
time
at
at the
one point
fan.
you were the sports update guy, weren't you? At one point.
I think I probably did that for about 5 years. And then just kind of ran out of time, the available time to do those things between the ballpark and the voiceovers. I just kind of ran out of time to do that kind of work. I miss it, but I have other things that I'm having fun with.
Yeah. I mean, of course, now actually, but but now also sports updates have kind of disappeared on those radio sites too now.
I get most of my information now. Like the Athletic is probably my go-to for sports information. I don't know, radio, too much hockey. That's all I'm going to say. Too much hockey.
Yeah, it's like so, well, I mean, like, but I think, I'm guessing you're a podcast that you like to that there are some podcasts you like as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't really listened to a lot lately. I have a very good friend who I know from the radio days, who does a podcast called Sick Man Talking. It's my favorite podcast right now. And if anybody, Sick Man Talking, just let me say it again, because if somebody wants to check out something absolutely original, I'd say try that.
Yeah, and also, yeah, no, interesting. And also, we mentioned Jerry Howard back then. Mike Wilner was part of the booth for part of the broadcast booth for a long time as well. And
Yeah.
it's great to see him doing some excellent work at the Star now.
Yeah, I've actually listened to his podcast a couple of times.
What do you
It's
think?
always
I think he
hard to
does a
find the
really good
time.
job.
Yeah, it's always hard to find the time to do to get to everything you want to get to because I love audiobooks too. So
Oh, me
I'm
too.
listening to
Yeah.
oh, I love yeah, I've all the time. I mean, I kind of flip around between podcasts and audiobooks. A lot of times it's an audiobook that I've read before, so it's kind of neat to hear somebody else read it to me.
Yeah. So are you an Audible user? I love my Audible.
Actually, you know what? I use Libby through the Toronto Public Library.
Oh, I see. Okay.
A big fan of the library. I love the Toronto Public Library. Get a lot of good stuff from them. That's how I read newspapers uh, through their portal. If people aren't familiar with what the Toronto Public Library has to offer, they
Yeah, go
should
ahead.
definitely
Fill
look
us in.
into it. There's a lot of stuff that they have to offer. Magazines, newspapers, it's all there. Definitely worth checking out.
And can a lot of it be accessed through in digital as well through the Libby app?
Yes, it's all I do it all on on my tablet. Yeah, it's so easy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now I actually and that's, so what book? Let's have some fun a little bit. What kind of book? What book are you reading currently?
Right now, I'm not reading anything. I have just this is not an audiobook, it's an ebook, but I just downloaded a Stephen King book called Later. But I'm some of the stuff I've read. I mean, it's all over the place. I'm a big Stephen King fan. Um,
Hmm. Yeah,
we'll put that out there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
have you read the Dirk Hayhurst books?
I have not.
They truly entertaining. I can't think of the titles right now, but his
Feel free to
stuff
send
is
them to
truly
me when
entertaining.
you find them.
I will do that. They are truly entertaining. He's a good writer. I'm surprised he hasn't written more, but he's a very good writer.
Yeah, actually, I just finished Lauren Graham's book. From the Lauren Graham is from the Gilmore Girls days. What's the book? It's called Someday, Someday Maybe.
Oh,
And
I'm not familiar with that.
yeah, and I just started actually The Last Good Year by Damien Cox. Actually,
That is that now. Is that a hockey book? Is that
yes,
about the Leafs?
yeah,
That's probably a good read.
yeah,
I'd be interested. I should look that one up.
yeah. The Last Good Year by Damien Cox. I don't know if Damien Cox. He'd be an interesting. I don't. I think he's still around. I don't know if he's still with the Star, but I know he's still out there doing his stuff.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure I've seen at least the odd byline from Damian Cox here and there. Another guy who I really enjoy is Stephen Brunt.
Yes,
His
Stephen
documentary work
Brunt.
is outstanding. It's oh, you know what? I just thought of the first Dirk Hayhurst book is called The Bullpen Gospels.
Oh, I think it's on my. I'll check on my wish list. Oh, the Bullpen Gospels. Yes. Have you read it?
Yeah, I have read it. I think I've read it twice. It's a really interesting look at what it's like being a guy who's kind of always on the cusp of not being a major leaguer and being a lifetime minor leaguer. It's an interesting look at things.
Yes, and yeah, and yeah. You know what? My area. The books I like to read are I like the sports books, um, and politics. I do want to
Hmm.
read. Um, I do want to read Andrew Lawton's book, Pierre Polyev, um, and also Promise and Peril, the life of Justin Trudeau um, as prime minister.
That certainly could be a good read as well. I mean, certainly informative if nothing else, and entertaining. Another baseball book I want to mention is called The
Yes,
Pitch That Killed. There's been one ball player, Major League Baseball player, killed by a pitch. And that's what this book is about. But it's not all about that. It's really a really interesting description of what baseball was like in the 20s and 30s. A very different game. a very different game. You've got guys going out and pitching 10 innings and then pitching another four next day in relief. Guys with the spikes up high and things like guys who will sharpen their spikes. The age of the beanball and the spitball. It's into that era with the Black Sox. The eight man out fixing the World Series. It's kind of in that era, and it's a really interesting. It's not all about this ball player getting killed, but it is about baseball in that era, and it's way different.
Okay, so the two books I'm going to check out: the Bullpen Gospel
Correct.
and the Pitch That Killed.
Right. Both good baseball books, I think anyway.
Oh, sounds good. I'll give you the rundown on them.
Okay. I'll look forward to the review.
Absolutely. And yes, and I think so. You know, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be yeah. Though I'm and I also like the self help books as well.
I went through a period of reading a lot of those. I mean, my guy at the time was, of course, I've gone blank. Wayne Dyer. A lot of what he wrote, I found quite interesting.
Mel Robbins has a lot of good ones, a lot of good self help ones as well.
Yeah, I think I might have read one or two. I've sort of moved on from those, but yeah, they were helpful.
Absolutely, yeah. Because you know what I always liked, and I also and Audible also has stuff from the great courses as well, which I really like as well.
Right, I think I've seen that.
Um, One of the one thing I read was um, it was John McWhorter is very famous for that. Is um, the story of human language, and what was very interesting about that is that he gets into how the languages sound, how the different languages sound, and the different consonants and how they sound. And he doesn't even just compare English, but he also gets into language of what like even what how animals also speak, like he was also talking about the sounds that parrots make, and it was kind of interesting.
The history of language. I'm actually going to write that down right
Yeah, the
now.
story of human language.
Okay, that's that one piques my interest right away. That's why I wanted to write it down right away. I don't want to forget that one.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you check that one out, I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about that one as well.
I will certainly do that.
Yeah, I think it's you know what though, I always find though, and even when it comes to all these, there's always good stuff to read, and I enjoy there are a lot of it, and we were talking about broadcasters. Gord Stellick is
Mhm.
also another he'd have some stories as well, like nice sort of Gord Stellick.
True. Somebody I should mention because we work in the same place for a while is Joe Bowen.
Ah,
Joe
yes,
Bowen and I
Joe
worked.
Bowen.
We worked for. I think he was probably only around for about a year after I started. But we were at I was at a radio station in Sudbury, CKSO, and Joe was there for a very brief time, and then went over to television, and then down here to Toronto and working with the Leafs.
Oh
Good
yeah,
old Northern boy.
yes. Oh, I think and you know what, I Joe Bowen, and what, I always liked Joe Bowen. I'm a big fan of Joe Bowen. Um, and he also, I think he's been doing. I don't know. I know he's been doing the Leaf games for a long time. I hope that he'll be around that he'll be able to do for at least another couple more seasons.
Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph have been doing that for quite a while now on the radio.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, One broadcaster I want to mention too that
yeah.
was a pleasure to know was Tom Cheek. Uh, I
Yes.
don't I don't think there's a more knowledgeable or friendly or warm person than Tom Cheek was. He's just a I mean, all of these guys are great, but Tom was something special. I mean, Dan Shulman's a great guy, so is Ben, but Tom completely in a league of his own.
Yeah, believe me, if he was still around today, I would certainly be reaching out for him for a chat.
Yes. His style was so unique. I mean, I go back to listening in my early days in radio when we used to carry Blue Jays baseball. Up in Northern Ontario, wherever I may have been at that time, um, was it was Tom Cheek and Early Win in the very, very first days of Blue Jays baseball, and it's one of those things that it just meant summer to hear those voices coming out of the box was always so much fun.
Yeah, and Jerry also Tom, and then when it became Tom and Jerry, it was the sound of summer basically.
Yeah, that was a legendary duo for sure in Canadian broadcasting, without a doubt.
Yeah, and and also Eric Smith with the Raptors. He's been doing it a while now. Well, for the 590 broadcasts.
There are an incredible amount of
Paul
good
Jones.
broadcasters in this country. I mean, a lot of them wind up going to America, but all of them. I mean, I mean, from Foster Hewitt on. I mean, Danny Gallivan and Dick Irvin, those guys. I mean, these guys are legends in their field, and they're Canadian, which is great. And again, I mean, Saturday night, the only hockey game you used to get was on Saturday night, and you hear those guys' voices, and it was
Yeah,
always something special.
yeah, and you remember Derek Wills now with the Flames?
Oh, okay, that's a name that escapes me, but I don't watch a lot of Flames hockey.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, he does the radio broadcasts for the team.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. Um,
there are a good number of them here in Canada,
oh
and
sure,
a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
up and comers too. Like, I mean, Ben Shulman. I mean,
yeah.
Ben stepped into some Ben stepped into some pretty big shoes and did a great job. Uh, Actually, I think Ben was probably one of the first when he was doing a podcast. I don't know if he still does it, but he was doing a podcast, and I think that was probably the first podcast I was a guest on was Ben's.
Oh, when he was doing Lockdown Blue Jays.
I don't know. I think it may have even it was. I think he was still in school
Ah,
when we did this. It was quite a while ago.
right. Because remember, he also, yeah, Ben Schulman. Yeah, he had some pretty big shoes to handle. Yeah, Ben
Hmm.
Schulman. I'm a big fan of Ben too. Great job. And yeah, no, that's going to be well, I'm looking forward to the 2025 season. And
Of
uh,
course.
yes, and we're a couple of weeks away from the preseason.
Yeah, everything's fresh, everything's new. I think there's a lot of interesting things going on. I mean, some of the young guys that really haven't had, there hasn't been room for them to make the big club. They've got a chance to impress. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of room on the roster. Um, when you really look at it uh, watching these guys battle for a spot. Um, you know, uh, it's how's Schneider going to look this year? And Ernie Clement, who's one of my favorite Blue Jays. Uh, you know, um, how's that going to look? And is Bo healthy and ready to go? I think so. There's That's the fun part of it. There's lots of questions, and we might get surprised by some of the answers.
Awesome stuff. So yeah, no, well, I'd like to, yeah. So where can people find you online, Tim?
You can find me on Blue Sky, which Langton TR is my handle. Same with Instagram, Langton TR. Those are my two social media spots. Um, I'm not going to get political, but I've given up on Twitter. But Blue Sky is probably the best place to find me.
Sounds good. So okay, yes. So yes, and I'm on all those places as well at Broadcast Map and broadcastmap.ca as well to keep up with everything going on that we're going to be doing here, that I'm doing here, and I will actually be back again tonight when
Wow,
yes at 7:30 when by I will be joined by Mark Perry to talk some sports.
excellent! You're a busy guy,
Oh yeah, yeah.
getting the
So
work done. I will mention
absolutely, it's like
too,
a go. Pardon?
if somebody wants to shoot me a note, if you go to timlangton.com, you'll find a link there where you can fire me off an email if you got a minor baseball team you want me to record intros for, or you just want to say hi, timlangton.com, and just hit the link and send me a note.
Absolutely. We'll make sure we direct everyone there as well. So thank you so much, Tim, as always. Thank you so much for joining me here for your first
My pleasure, Ali.
appearance.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. And let's do it. Let's do it again. I hope we can do it again real soon in the future.
Maybe we should check in at the end of the ball season and see how things went.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. All
Thank you
right.
so much.
You take care.
Stay safe.
Thank you, Ali. That was fun.
Yeah, thank you. It was
All right. I have some voiceover work to get to. So you have a good day. Have fun tonight, and I will definitely make a point of seeking out the podcast and having a listen.
Thank you so much. And please keep in touch, Tim.
For sure. You know how to
All right.
find me, man. I know
Pardon?
how to find you. All
You do,
right.
yes, and keep in touch. Okay, stay safe. Thank you for connecting with me as well.
My pleasure, man.
All right,
Take
you
care.
have a great day, and we'll talk again real soon. Let's do an end of ball season. How's that?
Sure. Done.
Thank you so much.
Guaranteed. Maybe
All
we'll be
right.
talking about playoffs. We'll see you
Yes,
later.
thank you so much.